Travis when he gets home. In Revelation chapter 12, there is a star date given. And it's factual. It's not based on opinion. It's not something you can just make up. Give whatever star date you want. When you use science, in this particular case, the hard science of astronomy that we all learn in grade school, you can find out the date. Of course, it helps to have a modern day app or program on your computer. I have a Stellarium program. I had a previous one before I found the Stellarium, and it was more black and white, not the version that you see in whenever I do a Sign in the Heavens video. And so what the star date is for Revelation chapter 12 verses 1, 2 and verse 5, which the Book of Mormon has, and the Joseph Smith translation moves to verse 3, so it's part of the sign. It's a fact. It's not an opinion. It's not a belief. It's a hard science-based fact, because we used science of astronomy to determine the date. And unfortunately, religious people don't understand this, because what this means is that Matthew chapter 2 is that same star date. Now, when Jesus was born in Bethlehem of Judea, that partial sentence is the star date given by John in Revelation, which means Matthew is not literal. It's not historical. It's similar to the book of Revelation. And it's called messianic literature. It's prophecy fiction, prophetic fiction, where they use different characters, different places, different events to symbolize a concept or meaning. And so Jesus is Jupiter in this particular case. And when you understand that the other signs that have star dates refer to the United States as the location. Revelation 19. Solar eclipses are a specific time and date, day and hour. Sorry, those of you who have believed Matthew rather than trusting in science. Solar eclipses also are only over a certain part of the world. And so each one is never in the same location. There's always a slight variation, if there is one that matches over a course of time. For example, 21st of August 2017 went over the whole United States. On 14th of October 2023, next year, I'm prophesying. Yeah, we already know, because it's a hard science. We can see into the past, we can see the present, we can see into the future with the signs in the heavens. And so solar eclipses, we already know in advance where they'll be. It is below and veers off into Texas. And so it's the same path. It's a solar eclipse. It's an annular rather than a total. next year. But you can see that they're not in the same location. And so they're very specific when they're given in Scripture. And so when I remind you of the story of Samson and help you understand it never happened. It's messianic literature, prophetic fiction, which means the deaths that occur in the stories of Samson, I try to tie them all together into one because well, anyway, are talking about solar eclipses. How do I know this? Samson is composed of the word in Hebrew for sun, shemesh, and then the N at the end. I deciphered Paleo-Hebrew, so I've been telling you that is the suffix determinative to designate a person as a king or a place as a kingdom. In this particular case, it's a person. So it's the Sun King. And there are deaths of the Sun King and other deaths as well. These are solar eclipses that are being talked about. And so sure enough, the first one is in Leo, the lion, because the lion dies. And we know exactly when that was. As I found out, going back after finding out when 21st of August 2017 was and where it was in the heavens, in the constellation of Leo, at the star Regis, the king star. And I then checked, okay, well, his first wife dies with her father, and it's burning by fire. And so, yep, sure enough, next year, 14th of October 2023, is in the constellation of Virgo, the woman, the female. And then Samson dies. This is a little tricky. Samson, as Jupiter, is in the death constellation of Aries. I already knew this because I found out that Abraham sacrificing Isaac, an angel appears and a ram appears. Yeah, that's not a story, or that's not a literal history. It's, again, messianic literature, prophetic fiction. It's a star date. And that one for 8 April 4 CE. It was over Russia. And then, yes, the death of Samson occurs 8 April 2024 in a completely different location on Earth, but the same exact day, 8 April. And so, 20 years. Very interesting. Because the Book of Mormon gives us that date. 600 years from the time Lehi left Jerusalem. The Book of Mormon gives us the date of 23 September 2017 that Revelation gives us in Revelation chapter 12, 1, 2, and 5. These are facts. The solar eclipse, by the way, in 8 April 2024, it's on the back of the white horse. Angel standing in the sun is the reference you refer to. I think it's verse 17. These are facts. Nobody can gaslight, lie. I mean, people do, but you can't use your religious bias to deny it. Otherwise, you hurt yourself. You deny yourself the truth. The Bible's true, right? Well, those are the facts. Book of Revelation, Samson, Abraham sacrificing Isaac, Matthew, the birth of Jesus in Bethlehem. Bethlehem is Spica, the star in Virgo. It's right there at the womb. It's the house of bread. And so if it's in America, where's Judah? Yeah. Which religion are we referring to? Yeah. That's the bizarre thing of it all. But the star dates are facts. And it's such that I'm like, wait a minute. These were written millennia ago. These weren't written in my lifetime to purposely deceive us. They weren't translated incorrectly to deceive us. Because I can go to the original documents and make a translation of them. That's the weird thing. And then it gets even weirder because I know about the Egyptians, of which the Bible plagiarizes. The Egyptians knew all this. Because the 21st of August 2017 was the ancient Egyptian religious calendar New Year. And it varies year to year on which day it occurs. And so to have in the Egyptian documents which the information in the oldest form of the documents that reveal this predate, which means it came from an older source that we don't have yet. And so that's how old it is. That's how long ago they knew about a solar eclipse in the constellation of Leo on the 21st of August 2017 according to our calendar. It's a star date, so it varies depending on which calendar you use, but it's the same exact star date. And they then therefore knew where on Earth it would occur. And it even gets more complicated because as an astronomer you would then realize every 2,000 years there is a shifting of the months, because there's also a shifting of the North Pole, and I think it's every 2,000 years as well. Or is it 10,000? I can't remember which. Probably 10,000. But for them to be able to factor that into the equation, the adjustment of the Earth over time, before it even happens, many millennia before it ever happens. This is what blows my mind. And these are all facts. To have the new year represent a solar eclipse, when Horus goes to battle to take back the kingdom from Set, who murdered his father. Plucks out his eye. Right eye. For a solar eclipse. So yeah. These are the things I'm trying to get across to you with not only scriptures, but also with church history. There are facts that cannot be denied. It's a fact. Joseph Smith was arrested 20th of March 1826. That needs to be accepted by everyone. Mormons, ex-Mormons. It's a fact. Sidney Rigdon is the major author of the Book of Mormon. Mormons have to accept this. Ex-Mormons all have to be united in accepting this. This was through linguistic science. The arrest, that was a court document. You have to accept this as facts. And the evidence from those. You can't deny it. You know, you can say, well, how does Sidney Rigdon write the Book of Mormon but join in December of 1830? See, that's a different issue. You have to then find the connection between Sidney Rigdon and the Smiths. But for a fact, Sidney is the major author. And it doesn't sound like Sidney Rigdon gets upset. You stole my book that I wrote. No. And Instead, Barley P. Pratt, baptized in September, I believe, goes to Sidney Rigdon. Hey, here's this book. Sidney Rigdon immediately joins. Immediately joins. Oh. So you have to look for the facts and assemble the facts together, and that will give you your answer, and that provides you with the test to search for. For example, last night I was reminded about the story of Joseph Smith in the 1838 edition, and after I've been doing all these videos about how it too is not literal, it's messianic literature, prophetic fiction. He's trying to tell us something, and so he purposely screws up his life story to give you extra information behind it as coded material, shall we say, or types and shadows, whichever one you understand. And so I remember he worked for Josiah Stoll and was looking for silver. So I thought, you know what? Let's find out if Susquehanna River has a silver mine, because this is the test. And if you don't understand, I'm the one who discovered Harmony north of Pittsburgh. That's where all of this happened. And because Joseph blew it with 116 pages, they had to create a new scenario, a new cover story. And thus they used Susquehanna River Harmony, which was no longer Harmony long before they got to Elmira and then to the farm in Manchester. These are facts. And so I checked, found, let me pull it up. Oops, that's the other one I got this morning. Additional Harmony information. Okay. And so, Susquehanna County, California, or .com. They do this susqco.com, Department Economic Pages, Pennsylvania, Bluestone. There is no silver mines in Susquehanna River County, but Susquehanna County is a singularity in the world. Most of Susquehanna County contains the unique Pennsylvania bluestone. It's a type of sandstone found only in northeastern Pennsylvania and mostly in Susquehanna County. Bluestone, not silver. Bluestone. And then they talk about a viaduct. Let's see where I can find the, because I did a copy and paste of it for my records. More recent history, yeah, that's it. Yep. The second paragraph. One outstanding monument to the strength and durability of the Pennsylvania bluestone is the Staruka, if I'm seeing that correctly. It's misspelled because Word does not recognize the spelling. Viaduct, located in Lanesboro, Susquehanna County. Anybody remember when I did the videos discovering Harmony north of Pittsburgh versus Susquehanna County Harmony? Yeah, there it is right there. Harmony, Susquehanna River. its name changed several times over the course of years. It was originally Harmony, but before the Smiths got to Palmyra, New York, the post office came in, said, you got to change the name. Can't have two Harmonies in the same state. That confuses us. And so it was changed. And the actual Susquehanna County website goes over the history of the name change. And you can remember me going over it and going, because the dates were not uniform. In this date, this happened. This date, this happened. This date. It wasn't. They were skipping back and forth in time. It was very frustrating. But nonetheless, it was in there. And it was no longer called Harmony. And so, when a Mormon thought he was outsmarting me and proving me wrong by sending me or informing me of he didn't link me to the Joseph Smith papers on it. He didn't link me to the site and the Joseph Smith papers. I then had to do it myself, but nonetheless, I was able to find it with the information he gave. That Mr. Hale, the daddy of Emma Hale, had apparently sold Joseph Smith a tract of land in Harmony, Susquehanna River, Pennsylvania. And it was right during the aftermath of the 116 pages. When they lose the money for the publication of the book, Joseph Smith is in a timeout for translating, and instead of saving the money for translation, he instead buys land for a home. It's like he gave up on the Book of Mormon altogether, but then decides a year later, oh, Oliver Cowdery's here to help me, now I can do it. When you try to merge the history as written by Joseph, which is not a literal history, with the literal history that actually happened, or that they claim happened, because it is a factual document, but you see that they purposely forged the document. It wasn't real. It never happened, because you got to have the right name of the place, and they didn't put the right name. And Joseph Smith is spending money when he's supposed to be using it to publish a book that he's told he needs to take it seriously, otherwise he's going to lose his gift and blah blah blah. Really? Okay. So, but again, you got to put all the pieces of the puzzle together. That's just the anomalies for this particular case, that you then have to develop a theory, needs to be tested. And so this was my test as I came across it. Oh, silver mine. We'll find a silver mine in Susquehanna County. And there isn't. There is one over by Allentown and the Washington Delaware crossing, or whatever that's called. There's a lot of silver over in that area, actually. And then there's some way down far west. It's way out of the way. But then there was Potter County. Yeah, Potter County. The picture that I have, that I made of it, the snapshot picture on Google Maps, that I got from that original website that I read to you, because it lists the different places in Pennsylvania where there's minerals or silver. I checked the ones for silver, and then saw that Susquehanna County didn't have a silver listing, but it had mineral listing, and that's the Bluestone. And yeah, it's slightly southwest of Canandaigua, and then the Manchester farm is slightly southwest of that. And so, which harmony, therefore, is it closer to? It's closer to the one by Pittsburgh, rather than the one over in Susquehanna County that was no longer called Harmony. And so the question is, did they actually live in Susquehanna County to go all that distance? Or were they actually over by Pittsburgh's Harmony? The answer is Pittsburgh's Harmony, because you need to explain how Sidney Rigdon is the major author of the Book of Mormon, which is a known fact. And so you run the test. Okay, which harmony? We'll test this harmony, and we'll test this harmony. This harmony wins. Because there are no Methodist churches over in Susquehanna County. There are in north of Pittsburgh. Yippers. That's how you do it. And yeah, it means that the whole Hale family had to leave when Joseph Smith botched it and was trying to seek consolement with the death of his firstborn son at the same time. Martin Harris took advantage of that death of the family. And so Emma's family being Methodist, they then attended the Methodist church for consolement. And unfortunately, there was at least one guy who recognized that Joseph Smith was arrested for glass looking in 1826. And so he was banished from the Methodists because they didn't want his kind there. And thus Emma had to go, and thus Emma's parents. Nice people, those Methodists. They're now split now, and they're still contending with the split. I understand. They had some kind of a Zoom conference the other day. They were all angry. So yeah, Methodist churches collapsed. But yeah, and so when you see in the documents that they're still claiming harmony, for section 3 through 10, then you understand that it's not harmony anymore. Because now they're still claiming harmony, but they're at the Smith farm. And I said it earlier, and now I got Mendon on my mind. But Manchester, that's it. Manchester United. And so then again, when you compare the Joseph Smith papers, it's a fact that section 10 was written in the summer of 1829. Bruce R. McConkie is wrong, and I know what he's doing because of what it means. He's trying to cover up a situation that makes the church very uncomfortable, because it means that Joseph Smith, if he was the composer of the Book of Mormon, not Sidney Rigdon, it only took him 1.5 months. That's it. That's miracle speed. Don't Mormons want miracle speed for the Book of Mormon? That Oliver Cowdery, he sure was a great help, wasn't he? And yet he helps before, but they don't get started until the summer of 1828. But the hilarious part is verse 4. So it's the summer of 1829 when he's given the gift back and he's working on the translation. This is a year later. And then section 4 is February 1829. Now behold, a marvelous work is about to come forth among the children of men. He loses 116 pages. It's a year later, and everybody believes he's the composer of the Book of Mormon, right? And he hasn't started. He won't start for another several months. And here he is saying it's about to come forth. It's just hilarious when you know the truth and then you impose what they're trying to make the cover story for, that everybody believes is literally true. Just hilarious. But this is how you do it. You get the facts. You have the evidence that provides you with the facts. And then you assemble all the facts to develop the narrative story for what happened. This is what cops have to do for crime investigation. And unfortunately, many don't do that anymore because it's too much work. But yeah, they lock people up and force a confession, whether they're innocent or not, because they've destroyed their lives. And so in order to salvage some of it, they'll take a plea deal to get a lesser charge, which then stays on your record, and then cops will use it against you in the future when they need a scapegoat. So your life is still destroyed. Rather than having cops actually perform scientific forensic investigative research like you see on TV. They won't do that. It's too much work. And apparently doctors in Utah no longer want to do actual scientific investigative research when you go in sick. They want to be your psychologist now. Just give you a placebo drug from a pharmaceutical company that is experimenting on humans at the moment. What is wrong with the world? Science, guys. Science. So, yeah, I'm just bumming it today. I was thinking about doing a whole bunch of quick videos on this is a fact, this is a fact, this is a fact, this is a fact. But I don't know. I do see that many people are watching my Jesus welcoming Mormons, new converts into the church for having paid their tithing. I see that one's a big hit lately. But yeah, this is what it means. When you put the pieces of the puzzle together, you find out what's really going on. I found out what's really going on with Brigham and Heber C. Kimball, and thus why I'm a critic. And thus why they're trying to murder me. I mean, dear God. I mean, it's not just that they're frauds. It's not just that they're from the government or from the organization that wants to overthrow the American government. But they're not just a criminal organization. They literally are trying to murder. They're literally stealing. They're literally working with terrorist organizations with business deals. That's the horror that I never anticipated. And that's the thing. When you use the science, what you find out is never what you expected. But when you go in with your bias, you go, yeah, I knew it all along. No, you didn't. You self-fulfilled your own prophecy. That's a fallacy argument, and thus your results are fraudulent. Your conclusion is faulty. You got to be neutral. Trust the science. Trust the evidence. Make up the facts. Just the facts, man. Just the facts.